sharp crack ended the descent as the figure landed. Its body twisted and broken, its bulging eyes open and unseeing. The other person at the top peered over the banister and stared at the grim sight before them. A hush accompanied their journey down as they stopped briefly and stepped over the corpse, avoiding the crimson pool that within a matter of seconds had gathered around the cadaver's head. An unsightly glistening halo that crept and crawled its way over the tiled floor, bleeding into every crack and crevice. Good riddance. The voice was a whisper, as the person gently careered round the spreading blood and brain matter. The lone figure slowly made its way towards the back door, careful not to touch anything on the way out. As they took one last glance around, the door was closed with a light click, and the figure snuck out into the clear summer air. A stout, beady-eyed crow swooped down and sat on the fence, the only witness to what had just taken place, the only living being that saw the individual leave. It would be their secret. For almost 4 decades, those few minutes of escape would remain hidden, undisclosed to the rest of the world. The departing figure turned and glanced back at the house. Their eyes narrowed as if deep in thought. They exhaled quickly and smiled and whispered softly under their breath. Never thought I had it in me. I'm not sorry though, and you won't be missed. Chapter 1. The Reflection. I'd like to say I picked up on it the first time we visited the old place. The sensation that somebody else was around. That uneasy feeling you get when you're being watched. But that would be a lie. I didn't feel anything of the sort. Neither of us did. It was an uneventful morning with no defining memories. Nothing we could look back on to say we should have known. The sun shone. Birds sang. It was a typical spring day. There were no dark shadows, no eerie moments that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. No signs or indications that anything was amiss. No clue as to what would follow. Hugh had spent a good deal of the time we were there, itching to visit the basement. It was all he had talked about on the way to view the house. He was full of ideas about how he would turn it into a workshop where he could fix all the bits of broken machinery he had collected over the years. I was less than excited at the prospect of visiting a dank underground room. It held no appeal for me, and I urged him to go down there without me. It was a wise decision on my part. The basement, as it turned out, was much as I suspected it would be. Like all basements everywhere. An airless, damp place full of cobwebs, dark corners and echoes. The thought of visiting it filled me with a sense of dread. After a swift glance down, I stayed in the kitchen listening to Hugh's voice as it filtered up through the floor where I was standing. I could hear him, speaking to the estate agent in a rapid, animated fashion, firing questions at her, his excitement spilling out as he roamed around the concrete floor. He was so keyed up and desperate to purchase the place that excitement practically oozed out of every pore. We were both eager, but Hugh had the edge over me. He radiated pure energy. The house was a bargain, there was no denying it. Empty for almost 2 years, it had put most people off due to the extensive renovations that were needed. I'd like to say it didn't faze us one little bit, but I don't mind admitting I did feel more than a little overwhelmed at just how much needed doing to the old place. I couldn't complain, however. It was what we had talked about, what we wanted for some time. Hugh and I were looking for a project, a property we could pull apart, put our own unique stamp on and then call our own. And Cross House met all our requirements, providing us with something we could get our teeth into. If only we had known. I waited in the kitchen while they continued their tour of the basement. I had seen enough to convince me we needed to buy it and didn't feel compelled to go wandering around again. To be perfectly honest,